Who died and left Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer in charge? That's what I was thinking after the new budget deal between the Republicans and, well, I guess the Republicans. I don't know. I think the Republicans were negotiating with themselves and lost because the Democrats are supposed to be out of power, right? Well, you wouldn't know it from this latest budget agreement. I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott. This is the right angle on that budget deal, and wow, did the GOP bend over and take one for, well, I guess for the Democrats. Listen to this. The budget includes money for California's high-speed rail. National Endowment for the Arts got a raise. So did the Endowment for the Humanities. The EPA, 31% cut. No, they got a 1% cut. Planned Parenthood, fully funded, and all the rest. Chuck Schumer was all smiles about this thing. He went on TV to say, early on in this debate, Democrats clearly laid out our principles. At the end of the day, this is an agreement that reflects those principles. In other words, Democratic principles, not Republican, not conservative principles. Bill, is that why the GOP lost? Because the Democrats showed their principles and the GOP didn't?
That's not why we lost the last election, but it's why the House is going to go almost 100% Democrat in 2018 unless they do something about this. And I might be voting for that as well. If we're not going to have, if we look, we've been fighting this battle for 8 years now, 7, right? Obama's elected. In 2006, we have a real serious upset in terms of the Congress. Obama's elected in 2008. The Democrats have 2 years with the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and they make a lot of hay during that time. Yeah. So we recovered the House in 2010, recovered the Senate in 2014, recovered the presidency in 2016. Now we have all three, and we're giving them everything that they want. And I'll tell you something, if these Republicans think that this is going to be tolerated, they're out of their minds. If we're going to have a Democratic budget, I'd rather have Democrats on it. And there's nothing more frustrating than, it's one thing to be in opposition and have an opposing political party, but when you're holding all the cards and you fold anyway, then that is something that is just filling this entire conservative segment of our population with absolute despair. I think they should just, I don't know. What do you do, right? I mean, what do you do? We need the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Okay, here they are. Now what?
I don't know what else I don't know how else to prod him. Scott, let me come at this, I guess, maybe from a different angle. You know, nothing Trump wanted was in this. The military got a small raise, border control got a small raise, but there was no wall, there were no big cuts, none of the things he campaigned on are happening in this 5-month budget agreement. And the Republicans are actually in a weaker position now than they were before the deal. The reason being, Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell decided that it was easier to negotiate with Democrats than it was to negotiate with the most conservative Republican lawmakers in the House caucus, that they should just ignore the people who campaigned hardest on the things that the GOP is supposed to believe in. I hear that the tail wags the dog, Scott, but in this case, it's the Democrat dog, isn't it?
Yes, and there were no Democrat principles really involved here. Let me say it
spending
this
money,
way.
I think that's a Democratic principle.
Yes, in fact, what the Democrats stand for was what got endorsed with this budget. But what I mean was, in the battle itself, the Democrat strategy, Chuck Schumer knows very well, was very simple. Divide the Republicans. That's all you have to do. And since a good chunk of the Republicans are just like Chuck Schumer, cravenly ambitious, totally unskilled, rent-seeking lifers, they knew that there's no way these guys are going to cut things from what they perceive as entitlement programs or things that help the children or things that help the environment or whatever. They knew that they could easily peel off those people. Remember, we've discussed this many times over the last 8 years. Those Republicans only speak boldly when they're in the minority. Now that they're in the majority, there's no way they can stand up for the things that they said you sent them there to fight for. And so that was the Democrat strategy. Now, meanwhile, President Trump, and we said this, I did anyway, and I think you guys did too during the primaries anyway, President Trump's no conservative. He's a guy who's trying to make a deal. And what he's finding out now is making a deal with 530 some people is not as easy as, sitting down with the guy who owns the hotel down the street and striking a deal with him. In addition, there are a lot of Republicans in the caucus who do not want President Trump to succeed. They got elected despite President Trump, not because they agreed with his platform. They just kind of lay low and rolled in on his coattails. And so all of this basically comes together with a budget that, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer would have been proud of if they had held the majority in both houses and had a Republican president. So now Bill is right. I mean, going in 2018, this is going to churn the legislature. The voters are saying, hey, this is what we sent you here to do. You haven't produced any of it. And this is the best argument, by the way, the best spin we're getting out of the Trump administration. Mick Mulvaney, the director of the Office of Management and Budget, said, this is a great, great victory for President Trump because now the Democrats won't be able to portray him as somebody who's not able to govern.
Oh, for the love of God. Did they actually say that?
Yes.
What does it say about your party when you're outsmarted by Chuck Schumer? What does that say?
It's not like we haven't seen this before, Bill. Chuck Schumer lives to eat Republicans for lunch. Marco Rubio might be president today if he hadn't decided to buddy up with Chuck Schumer on the Gang of Eight bill 5-6 years ago. Why can't the GOP learn from his disaster?
Because they're not capable of learning. That's pretty obvious, I think, at this point.
Well,
they have a learning disability.
There's our happy message, I guess. And there's no getting rid of Speaker Ryan either. I just read a report this morning that he's bringing in record amounts of money to the RNC through his various PACs and whatnot. $20 million, even more than he brought in during the election year of 2016. So he's cemented in place. But you know what, Bill, you said they're incapable of learning. Let me at least try to impart some friendly advice to President Trump, to Speaker Ryan, and to Majority Leader McConnell. If you guys will please listen to just a friendly tip that's well meant. When Chuck Schumer is smiling, that means you're losing. And I hope that helps. And also, try the butt cream. And that is your right angle on the budget deal. I wish I had better news for you. Maybe we'll have some better news for you next week. Stay tuned for that. And thanks to the members of BillWhittle.com for making this possible.